Hello, this is the lecture about the descriptive approach. In the previous lecture, as you remember, we discussed the prescriptive approach, and we said that it focuses on following the well-known and the fashion, the lingua franca languages, such as Greek and Latin. It also focuses on the prescriptive rules, how language should be used, how language should be written, and how language should be spoken. Well, due to different reasons that have been found by linguists in the early 20th century, reasons such as the impact of the Latin and the Greek languages is not positively done on certain languages. Yes, it could be of use for certain language, but it is not for other languages. It could be advantageous to languages such as Italian, Spanish, Portuguese, and so on and so forth, those languages whose mother is the Latin language, but it doesn't make any use to languages such as English. At the same time, English should follow the rules and all the mechanisms used in studying language in general. So, forgetting all about the language specifics, and this is not the issue. We have mentioned them. We have mentioned such an issue as a criticism for the prescriptive approach, criticism raised by the descriptivists. So this is the second reason. The third reason is that certain European languages have been misled by the use of the Latin or Greek languages. These reasons and other ones have pushed the linguists of the 19th century and the early 20th century, to find out a new approach, to deal with language, to study language, to do linguistics. If you remember in the first lecture, I have mentioned four eminent approaches. They are the descriptive, prescriptive, historical, and comparative. Prescriptive, descriptive, historical, and comparative. The most eminent ones are the descriptive and prescriptive. All of these approaches have merits and demerits, advantages and disadvantages. Now, as a reaction to the prescriptive approach, the descriptive approach came into the scene, as I said, in the late 19th century and the early 20th century. The way how to look at language is different. The way how to look at language is different. Language is seen as a social activity, as for certain early 20th century linguists such as de Saussure. So analysts should take language from its users, not from the books such as Quran, such as William Shakespeare, such as these well-known writers at that time, or religious books. So they said that, the descriptive approach analysts they said that language should be taken from its users, from the native speakers, okay, and then analyzed. So it's they try to describe the regular structures of language as it was used, as it is, okay. There's no need to go back to the writers and written books, not according to some view of how it should be used, okay. This is the core difference and the core objective of the descriptive approach, okay, and that's why they call it descriptive. They find any language, any piece of language, any utterance, anything where language is involved, and describe it, okay. So their mere work is description. Nowadays we almost 90% of our work in linguistics is only description. Now I am describing the language. Now you are studying the description of certain languages. Whenever you try to compare between two languages, to contrast two languages or two issues in two languages, then you are approaching language through comparative approach. Whenever this now one of the descriptive approach is one of the descriptive approach aspects is the use of the structure analysis, okay. They use to investigate the distribution of language forms according to the use of slot in the sentence. For example, the slot makes a lot of noise. I heard a slot yesterday. So we can say the car makes a lot of noise, or the donkey makes a. I heard a child, yes, and so on and so forth. The use, what is the element used here? Is it noun, verb, adverb, adjective, and so on and so forth? This is one way of analysis. It is a poor way to analyze language, but it is better than the previous or the old one, the traditional prescriptive ones. Now, because all of these forms fit in the same test frame, okay, they are likely to be examples of the same grammatical category. As I said, for example, noun, adjective, adverb, and so on and so forth. Yes, these are again the same examples. If you put different word class or different reference to the word class, you will find the same slot filled by synonymous, okay, word classes, and eventually they are used interchangeably. One other way of the descriptive approach is the constituent analysis, which is the analysis that depends on the constituents of a given sentence. Okay, again, it is the structural way of how to analyze language. It contains, the constituent analysis contains the